We're pretty much halfway through the 2026 college basketball season, and around this time every single year as conference play starts to build up, I like to update my top 30 big board for the upcoming NBA draft. So that's what we are doing today. My first update in a few months. Let's rank the top 30 prospects for the 2026 NBA draft mid-season edition. And like always, I'm gonna have a bunch of honorable mentions as well. This is still going to be a fluid list throughout the rest of conference play into conference tournament play, the March Madness tournament, the combine, etc. And throughout the video, you're going to see a ranking on the screen as well as their previous ranking. If it's going to be an NA, they were not in my top 30 throughout the preseason update, but you could see if these guys have fallen or risen a little bit. So to start off my honorable mentions, I have Braden Smith at Purdue, probably the best point guard in college basketball right now, one of the greatest point guard passers we have seen maybe in college basketball history. There's going to be some limitations to what he could be as a defender and maybe as just a finisher around the rim, but I still think is a lot better than some of these like older point guards we've seen come out of college basketball in the past. I like Braden Smith as a fringe first rounder. Dash Daniels is also going to be an honorable mention as well. He has fallen. He was 16th on my preseason update. The scoring just hasn't been there at Melbourne United. I still love his point of attack defense and still think he could be a first round pick in June. I also have Morris Johnson at Michigan. Yeah, Michigan just has a loaded front court right now. I have Malik Thomas at Arkansas. He's like right there to make the top 30. I have Henry Vasar at UNC. I have Juke Harris at Wake Forest and Amari Allen at Alabama, just missing it as well. And I have Ubuka Corey at Stanford. There's obviously going to be some limitations to his game as well. He's been an absolute flamethrower as a freshman. I wonder if he's actually going to be a one and done this year. So let's get in here to number 30. So coming in at number 30, somebody that could win the Wooden Award this year at Texas Tech, I do have JT Toppin, arguably the best player in college basketball this season for the Red Raiders. He's averaging over 21 points, 11 rebounds. But hey, when you start to realize what JT Toppin could be as a prospect, it's hard to think that he could go in the lottery this year in a very strong 2026 draft. He is a great touch around the rim. He is very physical down low. He's somebody that can be a back to the basket guy. Does that usually translate to the NBA level? It's not the 90s anymore, although he's a very skillful player around the rim. He shoots 28% from three, 48% from the free throw line. He's 6'9", 210. He's not good enough a defender, I think, to guard speedy wings on the perimeter. He's not as strong and as good of a rim protector to kind of be your 5 and your defensive anchor right now. So he's in a tweener position at the moment. And yes, he's getting all these touches and shots at Texas Tech. He's getting about 17 shots a night. He may never see that type of volume in his NBA career. I still think he's super productive, and if he has a good playmaking point guard, he can operate at a short roll. He can catch alley-oops. He could be a good pick and roll setter. There's just guys that I like the upside going forward as well. So coming in at number 29, I have one of two Arizona Wildcats that will hit the top 30 here. I have Braden Burries, part of arguably the best team in college basketball right now. The moment I'm recording this, the Arizona Wildcats are the #1 team in the country, still undefeated. And Braden Burries got off to a little bit of a slower start this year in out-of-conference play, but he's been really picking it up as of late over the last few weeks. He's shooting around 50% from the field, 34% from three on 4.5 attempts a night, 72% from the free throw line. I think it's been an up and down season defensively for Burries so far, and I still think he's trying to figure out what his position might be at the NBA level if he's going to be a one and done. He was the 9th ranked recruit coming out of high school this year. I just think the slower start hasn't made him maybe in my top 15. I actually didn't even have him in my preseason top 30, so I think he's played well enough over the last few weeks as a ball handler, as a finisher around the rim, the mid-range jumper as well, to warrant a top 30 spot. So I have him here at 29, and he's rising up right now. Another player that I didn't have in my top 30 going into the year, Alex Karaban of the UConn Huskies. I thought Alex Karaban could have been a first round pick 2 years ago in the 2024 draft. That's when I liked him the most. Last year, I didn't think he would have been a first rounder in the 2025 draft. So it's looking like it was a very wise decision to go back to Stores for his 4th year, technically his 5th because he redshirted his freshman year, to now be a first round pick for the 2026 draft. He's one of the better shooters in this class, and it's arguably having the best 3-point shooting season of his 4-year college career so far. He's shooting a career high 42% from three for the Huskies this year. He's also shooting 48% from the field. He's taking 4.5 threes a night. He's playing 33 minutes a night as well. One of the league leaders in minutes per game in the country. 5 rebounds, 13.5 points. I loved him for the championship team in 2023 when he got to play with guys like Jordan Hawkins and Andre Jackson. I loved him in 2024 playing with Stephon Castle, Tristan Newton, and Donovan Clingan. And I think he moves so well without the ball in his hands. I would love to see him go to a team that's maybe trying to make the playoffs in the 2027 season as well. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes out there. I think he's fine enough defensively. He's not the best. He's not the worst defender in the world, but he's maybe the best shooter in this class. At least he's up there. When I did my first ever big board in a video like this for the 2024 draft in the preseason, I had a Demara in my top 10. Coming over from Spain, going to UCLA, I thought he was fascinating as a prospect. Coming over to the States, it was a developmental first 2 years in college basketball and as clunky down there as well. He's 7'3", and this frame makes him so intriguing right away as a rim protector. He's put on so much weight and has gotten so much stronger since his freshman year as well. And there's a big reason why Michigan is one of the best teams in the country at 16-1 when I'm recording this, ahead of their game against Indiana, although they're blowing them out in the first half. That I think a Demara could definitely be a first round pick, given kind of how weak this center class feels like right now. Maybe weak isn't the best term, but how up in the air it is at the moment. Another player coming here into my top 30 that I didn't have in my preseason big board is Dalen Swain at Texas. He's coming in at number 26. I had Dalen Swain as one of my sleeper picks for the 2025 draft. He didn't decide to go into the NBA draft out of Xavier. He follows his head coach to Texas and has been great for the Longhorns this season. He's somebody that could be this Swiss Army knife defender for you out there that can guard multiple positions. And I'm watching teams right now struggle defensively at times. My New York Knicks, this is somebody they could definitely use off the bench to be that point of attack defender, that help defender, that post defender, who's also averaging 15.7 points this year, 7 rebounds, 3.3 assists, around 2 steals a night. The three-point shot is definitely inconsistent at the moment. It's something he's going to have to work on. He's been taking more threes this year. They're not necessarily going in. But man, I love his athleticism. I love what he could be as a transition offensive player and defensive player as well. Yeah, he's going to be dinked a little bit because of the three-point shot, but I think he's still a top 30 prospect right now. Another new entry here into my top 30. I have Cameron Carr playing at Baylor. He spent 2 years at Tennessee. Now he's spending his junior season under Scott Drew with the Baylor Bears. This year, he's averaging 20.5 points, up from 4.8 points as a rotational guy for the Volunteers last year. He's shooting 53% from the field, 43% from 3 on 5.5 attempts a night. He's shooting 61% on 2s. He's averaging 5 rebounds a night as well. He is uber athletic, 6'5", 175 pounds. I would like for him to be a little bit more physical as a defender because I think he could be a great 3-and-D wing in this class. He's 6'5". We'll see how he measures in at the combine though, if he can have like that true wing height, because I'll say this a lot throughout the draft process because right now I'm getting a feel for this class. It's not the strongest wing draft in the world. So if you could be this 3-and-D wing, honestly, you could go high in this draft. Like if Dalen Swain could shoot the 3-point ball, he would be a top 20 pick in my opinion. Cam Carr though has the big time shot making ability. He has the athleticism to be a good spark plug for a team off the bench right away. Scott Drew does produce these Baylor guards, Keontae George, Jacoby Walter, Vijay Edgecombe, guys that will go in the first round. I'm gonna have another one later in this video as well, and I think Cameron Carr has been a great riser so far and a really cool story from what he's done over the last year, improving so much from his Tennessee days. So coming in at number 24, he was in my preseason big board, Yaxel Lendenberg. He was 19th originally, so I've actually dropped him 5 spots. I don't think he's been as dominant so far in the Big Ten as I would have expected. Now, Michigan is amazing this year. They're blowing a lot of teams out, so it's not like they've needed Yaxel to play the 33 minutes a night he was playing last year at UAB. He's only playing 27 minutes a night. I thought he would have been a first-round pick last year. He's right around the range that I have him this year. There's some guys ahead of him that I kind of like the fit at the NBA level a little bit more. It's like the JT Toppin thing. I think some other guys can plug and play as better defenders, shooters, ball handlers than Yaxel Lendenberg right now, who is shooting 34% from 3 on about 4 attempts a night. I'm not completely sold on the mechanics and what his 3-point shot could be at the NBA level. He's 6'9", 230 pounds. I do think a team that lacks physicality in the front court should hop on the Yaxel Lendenberg train as well, because he's a fantastic rebounder for somebody at 6'9". And I think he's played very well this year with Morris Johnson and Ade Mara in that front court. So, hey, if the Wizards want to use their second first-round pick on Yaxel Lendenberg later in the draft, I would love that. So him dropping 5 spots doesn't mean I'm not on Lendenberg anymore, just like a couple guys more that I think fit better at the NBA level. That's why we're doing this. Coming in at number 23, he was 18th in my preseason big board. I have Isaiah Evans at Duke. Now, this season hasn't been the best Isaiah Evans season that I thought it could be, given what I saw in maybe a smaller sample size last year when you had Con Knipple, Cooper Flagg, Tyrese Proctor. Come on, now you watch Sion James. Duke had so much talent last year, and Isaiah Evans was going to have a larger role this year. So the 2-point shot and finishing around the rim hasn't really gone as well as I would have hoped, but I still think he's a great 3-point shooter. He's shooting 36% from 3 on 7 attempts a night. He got off to a slower start this year, and Duke had a fairly tough out-of-conference schedule going up against teams like Florida, Arkansas, Texas, and Kansas, Michigan State, and Texas Tech as well. That is a gauntlet as an out-of-conference schedule, and they're 17-1 right now. I would have taken him in the top 20 last year. He's right around that range for me right now at 23. I just think the defense is still a work in progress right now, but if you're trying to bank on shooting and shooting at the NBA level, Isaiah Evans is your guy. So coming in at number 22, I have another good shooter in this class. I have Christian Anderson at Texas Tech. Christian Anderson has been a joy to watch this year for the Red Raiders, and yeah, I know he's maybe not been as statistically better as his teammate JT Toppin, but I do think he could be a little bit better of an NBA player. Now at 6'2", 165 pounds, we're going to need to work on that a little bit. I don't love Anderson's defense, especially as a smaller guard at 6'2". Like if he measures in at 6'1" at the combine, that might be a little bit of an issue. We saw Jace Richardson get docked a ton for that last year in the draft, but Anderson has been super productive for the Red Raiders this year. 20 points, 7.5 assists, shooting 43% from 3 on 8 attempts a night and 48% from the field. Watch that second half against Duke at Madison Square Garden. Anderson hit NBA level shots against NBA level competition. It's just at 6'2". I like a couple other point guards that are bigger in this class that I think are just as good of either shooters or passers, although I still think Anderson is a first round pick 100%, and he's actually gone up 2 spots from my preseason big board. All right, coming in at number 21, a new entry into the big board as well, I have Keaton Wagler at Illinois. I did not know much about Keaton Wagler going into the season. He wasn't really on my radar whatsoever. I did not expect him to be the best player on this Illinois team, but he's been the best player for the Fighting Illini so far, shooting around 46% from the field, 42% from 3 on 5.5 attempts a night, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He looks very comfortable as a point of attack defender. He looks very comfortable as a floor general. He's 6'6", so he could be 4 to 5 inches bigger than Christian Anderson, which I trust a little bit more at this NBA level where players are more athletic, bigger, quicker than ever. And Wagler is also very efficient from the free throw line, 83% from the free throw line on 5 attempts a night. You go through a lot of these guys in the top 30. Many of them are not good free throw shooters. That's something that I trust as a translatable skill to the NBA level, which also I think makes you a better shooter from 3. And Wagler looks the part so far. Kai Boswell just suffered a serious injury for Illinois as well, so we'll see if he could step up with even a higher workload going forward. I think he's a fringe top 20 guy right now and has a good chance of being a lottery pick in June. Coming in at number 20, I have Patrick Gungba, the center at Duke. I do think this is a little bit of a more volatile center class, and I do think Gungba has been good enough to still be a top 20 player in this class. Last year, he didn't play a ton for Duke since they had Come On My Watch. They had Cooper Flagg and Malik Brown and all these guys in that front court at Duke, and this year, his minutes have more than doubled. His shots have more than doubled as well. He's shooting 64% from the field. Now, he's taking more threes. Maybe this is the Come On My Watch effect as well, where they're trying to just kind of showcase the scouts that he could shoot. I don't really love the shot whatsoever. I'd rather him just be more of a traditional big. He's getting to the free throw line a decent amount. He's very patient and has good timing around the rim. Really good touch, I think. Since he does shoot 73% on twos, the reason why his field goal percentage is 64% because he shoots 25% on threes. He's not as good of a shot blocker as Come On and as not maybe as physically imposing, not as big, but I do think is a little bit more athletic, a little bit more skillful with the ball in his hands, and I do think has better decision making as well. And I think anybody can kind of take maybe the center 1, center 2, center 3 position in this class, and it could definitely be Gungba if he has a very strong couple weeks throughout ACC play. A big faller for my preseason big board, but is still in my top 30. I have Chris Sinak at Houston. It was a rough start to his freshman year at Houston, which is very tough for usually some Houston freshmen. Now, we're going to talk about a Houston freshman in the top 10, but Sinak definitely struggled out of the gate. He has been picking it up as of late as Big 12 play started. He's had strong games against Baylor, against Texas Tech, and against Arizona State as of late. He's averaging around 9.5 points, 7.5 rebounds this year, 49% from the field, 38% from 3 on about 2 attempts a night. I do like the shot. I'm just trying to figure out what Sinak's position is going to be at the NBA level, because he has the athleticism, he has the intangibles, I think, to be a starting center at the NBA level that could space the floor, but can you trust him as a rim protector? He doesn't really block a lot of shots at the college level. He doesn't look as imposing as a post defender, maybe compared to like a Patrick Gungba or an Ade Mara or Henry Vesar, who was in my honorable mentions. Now, Sinak is a true freshman as well, so this is still very early into his college career, 18 games in, and it's very tough to kind of earn that Kelvin Sampson respect out of the gate. And when JoJo Tugler is out there with you, it's hard to kind of stand out because because Tugler is usually making a lot of the eye-popping defensive plays. I think Sanak, though, is starting to come alive as of late, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he got back into that top 10 range around March Madness. Coming in at 18, I have Joshua Jefferson of the Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State got off to an undefeated start. They have been sliding a little bit as of late, but hey, they're 16-2 right now. They still have arguably the best defense in the country, or it's top 3. I love Joshua Jefferson in this class. He just screams Kyle Anderson to me right now. He's very methodical. He's very smart. He's got great decision making within the half court. He's basically maybe like the Tristan Da Silva of this year's class, if you remember him from the 2024 cycle, or maybe like Nick Clifford from last year's cycle as well. Kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. He shoots around 49% from the field, around 36% from 3, and he's really only going to take good looks if he's wide open out there. Shoots around 53% on 2s, 74% from the free throw line, but gets to the line a decent amount. 17 points, 5 assists, 8 rebounds, 1.5 steals. I mentioned before, it's not the greatest wing class in the world, and I think Jefferson has taken advantage of that so far, and I do think he's going to be maybe the best draft player from this Iowa State Cyclones team. He's had a really cool developmental story, starting out at St. Mary's, not really playing a lot, breaking out slightly in 2024, being part of Iowa State's team last year that lost to Ole Miss in the round of 32, and he's looking like one of the better seniors, at least the senior forward so far this year. I have him here at number 18. Coming in at number 17, one of the players that I still think is maybe one of the more polarizing players from this class, I have Bennett Sturts, who has been on a tear as of late. I'm just trying to picture Bennett Sturts at the NBA level, and he might either be the next Jason Kidd, or you're just not going to be able to play immediately. He broke out last year for Drake. They ended up winning against Mizzou in the round of 64 and had a very good game against Texas Tech in the round of 32. So yeah, he's on the older side. Do you think he has a limited ceiling than everybody else? I am fascinated to see what NBA organization takes a chance on him in the first round, because some team will. I remember him being in my honorable mentions going into the year. I have Thomas Houck shooting up here to 16 for Florida. I think by far the most intriguing Florida draft player at the moment. Yeah, more than Boogie Flanner, Xavier Lear, Alex Condon. Ruben Chinelu, though, has definitely caught my eye as of late for the Gators for what he's done against Vandy, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Georgia. But I do think Thomas Houck is the best draft prospect on this Florida team so far. I think he's the best player on this Gators team, the reigning national champions. I thought he could have been a fringe first rounder if he declared last year. He looked very smart in the half court with the ball not in his hands. He knew exactly where to be at all times under Todd Golden's system. He's averaging 17.5 points, 6.7 rebounds this year for the Gators, 48% from the field, around 35% from 3, which I think is going to be a big swing skill for him as well. 76% from the free throw line. He likes to absorb contact as well. He's a phenomenal cutter. He could finish strongly around the rim. Like I keep saying, it's not the strongest wing class in the world, so I think Thomas Houck might go higher than expected if a team is looking for a stretch 4 on draft night. So coming in at number 15, I have Kareem Lopez, down a little bit from where I had him in my preseason big board, but he has been coming alive as of late for the New Zealand Breakers, having 16 points against Cairns, against the Illawarra, and solid games against Perth and Sydney as well. So he's been a little bit inconsistent so far offensively for the Breakers. He's averaging 11 points and 6 rebounds a night. Now, when you're playing at least in the NBL, it does feel like it's tough to be like the main guy over there as well, to try to see what Kareem Lopez can do as like an isolation scorer, try to be a pick and roll ball handler. But he's still just 18 years old. He's got a really good size and frame to be a stretch 4 at the NBA level. I still think he could be a lottery pick on draft night. It's not the strongest international class in the world either. Like, he's the only guy I have here in my top 30 that's not playing college basketball at the moment. So coming in at number 14, he's dropping 10 spots from where I had him in the preseason. I have Nate Ament playing at Tennessee. Now, Ament really struggled against good competition earlier in the year, but he's been coming alive as of late. Since SEC play started, he's turned it around a little bit. So far on the year, Ament's averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, shooting 41% from the field, 27% from 3, and 76% from the free throw line. I'd still like for him to be a little bit more physical. Now, he's been more aggressive as of late. I'd like to see him maybe dunk the ball more as well. I know this is still kind of like a new position for him. Now, if I made this big board a couple weeks ago, I might not have had him in my top 20. So he's starting to come alive as of late. He's trending back upwards. I have him here at 14 right now, dropping 10 spots from my preseason big board, but he could definitely get as high as maybe 5 or 6 at one point. That 3-point shot has to come around though. Coming in at 13, I have Darius Cuff playing at Arkansas right now. Now, I was higher on Darius going into the year. I had him 15th, so I'm only bumping him up 2 spots. It is a loaded guard class. Now, like Christian Anderson, Cuff's on the smaller side, but he's a lot stronger, weighs a lot more, definitely plays more physical than Christian Anderson, so that's why I have him about 11 spots higher. Cuff is averaging 20 points, 6 assists, shooting 49% from the field, 41% from 3, and 80% from the free throw line so far this season. He has been on a tear as of late as well, balling out against Tennessee, balling out against South Carolina, Auburn, and Georgia as well, and maybe is the best guard prospect we've seen from Coach Calipari since Tyler Hero, Emmanuel Quickly, Tyrese Maxey from a couple years ago. But this shot might be legitimate, and I know he's on the smaller side, but the court vision is great. He plays with such a high motor and intensity, and he's got the confidence to be a big-time shot maker at the NBA level, and could definitely be a top 10 pick when we get to draft night. So coming in at number 12, I have Hans Steinbeck playing at Washington. Steinbeck was an honorable mention for me going into the year, so he's definitely jumped up a ton. He's averaging 18 points, 11 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field for the Huskies this season. He has struggled a little bit against better defenses, like he did not have a great game against Michigan, and going up against Yaxel and Ade Mara definitely looked a little bit outmatched inside. He's still a phenomenal rebounder. You can make an argument he's the best rebounder in this class. I mean, he's 6'11". He looks like he's 7 foot out there. He's 220 pounds. He looked great for Team Germany in the U19s a couple months ago in the summer. I would like for him just to look a little bit better defensively, because if so, I could crown him center 1 in this class. Just missing out on the top 10, I have Jaden Quainance at Kentucky, a very interesting prospect to follow right now. So he did come back a couple weeks ago from that ACL tear he suffered playing at Arizona State last year. He was too young to be draft eligible, but he would have gone in the first round, or at least in the top 40 if he went in the draft last year. He looked so good in his first game back against St. John's, but it's been in and out of the rotation since. He's only played 4 games. He hasn't played since January 7th for the Wildcats so far, and in that game, he didn't score a single point in it. I still believe in Quainance to be the best rim protector and be the best defender in this class overall, but I gotta just see it out there this season. Unfortunately, I've only seen really one, maybe 1.5 good games so far against St. John's and against Alabama, so I had to drop him a couple spots. So staying at the exact spot where I had him preseason, I have Braylon Mullins of the UConn Huskies. Mullins had a lower body injury going into the year, so we got off to a little bit of a slower start, but this man is a great shooter. He's a great connecting piece right away for the UConn Huskies. He's shooting 47% from the field, 36.5% from 3 on 5.7 attempts a night. He's shooting 64% on 2s. He doesn't get to the line as much as I would have liked for him to this year, because I do think he's a good athlete. I do think he's got great bounce, and he can really get to the line if he was a little bit more aggressive down low. I don't know if the injury or just Dan Early's system has affected that at all. He's averaging 11.5 points, 1.3 steals. I like the defense. He's around 6'6", 200 pounds. And in, the weakish wing draft, I think Mullins could definitely be going a little bit higher in this draft by the end of it, because we're going to talk about some other guys that aren't as good as three-point shooters as Braylon Mullins right now, because it gets really dicey with three-point shooters in the top 10. So coming in at number 9, I have Tunde Yesufu at Baylor. He was one of my guys going to the year because I loved watching him at the Nike Hoop Summit at St. Joseph's High School last year, and I was like, this is going to be a guy I'm going to fall in love with throughout the draft process. Now, he's been coming alive as of late. He got off to a slower start, kind of reminded me of like maybe VJ Edgecombe last year, Jacoby Walter a couple years ago at Baylor, and Scott Drew produces these guys. But Yesufu has not gone off to a great three-point shooting season. Now, he just went 3 of 8 from 3 against Kansas. The shot looked good. He's super confident out there. If that comes around, I do think he could be maybe the 6th overall pick in the draft. He's averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds. I love the defense. I love the intensity. I love the downhill attacking and aggressiveness in transition and in the half court, which I think is lacked a little bit by guys in this class as well. He's taking 5 threes a night. If this shot comes around in Big 12 play against these really good defenses like Iowa State, Houston, and Cincinnati, I think Yesufu is going to look a little bit better. So yeah, maybe in the next update, I don't have him here in the top 10. I think I'm higher on him than the consensus right now. I'm holding my ground. Another interesting prospect here in the top 10, 6'8" Koa Pete coming in here at number 8. Now, the thing about Koa Pete, he can't shoot. He doesn't really want to shoot. He's not looked great as a shooter this year, but he is so dominant around the rim. He looked great for Team USA in the U19s in the summer, playing with AJ DeBansa and Mikael Brown and some others over there. He's looked so good for the #1 team in the country. You can make an argument he's the best player on the best team in the country right now. He shoots 56% from the field, 59% on 2s, 21% on 3s, which he doesn't really want to take a ton. He can't really knock down free throws whatsoever. He's averaging 15 points and 6 rebounds, but he is so skillful around the rim. He's got a good mid-range jumper from the elbow as well that I trust right now, and Arizona has played some really good competition so far. This does look like a top 10 pick. I just don't really know what his position is going to be at the NBA level, and I wonder if the shot is ever going to come around. So I had Mikael Brown Jr. as my #1 pure point guard in this class, with Peterson not being a true 1 going into the year. Yeah, that has dropped a little bit now. Mikael Brown Brown is here at number 7 for me. He dropped a couple spots from my preseason big board. It's not been the best start to his Louisville career so far, and he's also dealt with back spasms as of late. He hasn't played since December 13th, unfortunately, but in those 10 games leading up to December 13th, 38% from the field, 26% from 3, 16 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. His best game of the year came against Kentucky, which I really liked that at the time, but now you're watching Kentucky and you're like, all right, Kentucky's not that good. He struggled against Arkansas, Indiana, and Memphis as well. I want to see him play against Duke this year because he was out a couple weeks ago when Louisville played Duke. He's got the size, he's got the ball handling, he's got the defensive ability to be a top 5 pick in this draft. We just got to see him healthy again. But one spot ahead of Mikel Brown Jr. right now, I have another point guard, Kingston Flemings of the Houston Cougars. I didn't really know much about Kingston Flemings going into the year. I knew about JoJo Tugler, Chris Sinak, Isaiah Harwell, Emmanuel Sharp, Miles Uzan. I didn't know a damn thing about Kingston Flemings, but this kid has been one of the best guards in the country this year. Now, this is a big-time shot maker who looks like he is so poised under the brightest lights right now deep into games. He's shooting 51% from the field, 38% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. He's averaging 15.5 points, 5.5 assists, 2 steals a night. I love his point of attack defense. This is exactly what Kelvin Sampson wants. A Houston coach that doesn't like to play big freshmen. It was a big deal when Jarris Walker was getting a ton of playing time over there a few years ago. I think it's a bigger deal on what Kingston Flemings is doing this year as a freshman. He's a borderline top 5 pick in this draft and might be people's number 1 point guard in this class, depending on what you classify Darren Peterson. But somebody I've enjoyed a little bit more this year that I think could be a legitimate scorer at the NBA level. My point guard 1 right now, not including Peterson, I have LeBaron Philon at Alabama. I thought Philon was a fringe first rounder last year. I thought he was going to go into the 2025 draft. He opted to go back to Alabama to play under Nate Oates once again. What a decision that was. He is jumping up about 8 spots for my preseason big board. I had him 13th going into the year. I liked Philon a ton. He's shooting 53% from the field. He's taking 6 more shots than what he did in his freshman year, and his field goal percentage has gone up 8 percentage points. He's shooting 38% from 3, 73% from the free throw line. Something to keep an eye on a little bit, but he is averaging 22 points, 5 assists, 1.5 steals for a top 20 team in the country. He's so shifty. He's so creative with the ball in his hands. I love his ball handling ability as well. He can operate so smoothly out of the pick and roll. I'm real excited to learn more about his advanced numbers and the rim numbers as well throughout the season. I think he's a top 5 player in this draft, unless the efficiency craters in SEC play. I think he's going to be a top 10 pick, or at least deserving of one. And now here's when we get to the cream of the crop of the 2026 NBA draft. You could say it's a 4-player draft right now for what Caleb Wilson is doing at UNC. And maybe that's a little bit of a blue blood bump playing at UNC, making you look a little bit better. But Caleb Wilson has been so much fun to watch this year. 20 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3 assists per game for the Tar Heels, shooting 57% from the field. He's averaging 1.5 blocks, 1.5 steals. You can make an argument out of all the players we have talked about here in the top 5, or we'll talk about it in the top 5. He is the best defender out of the 5. Now, I don't trust his shot whatsoever. Do you think that Caleb Wilson at 6'10", 220 pounds could be a small ball 5? Can you operate him out there being a non-shooter? I would just love to see him in the front court with Alex Sarr. I just think they're polar opposites right now. Caleb Wilson loves to crash the glass no matter if he's shooting it or if a teammate shoots it. He plays with so much intensity and energy. I think he's the consensus number 4 overall player in this class right now and shouldn't be any lower. So here's where we have the top 3 that we've been talking about all year long. Maybe the best top 3 we have seen in a decade plus, who knows. I have AJ Debanta at BYU. Now, this is more of like a 1A, 1B, 1C still, because Debanta's averaging 22.5 points, 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And I have him at number 3, 54% from the field, 30% from 3, something to keep an eye on. I haven't really loved the 3-point shot this year from Debanta. Only 3 attempts, shooting 30%. He is shooting 61% on 2s. He's shooting 76% from the free throw line and getting there 8 times a night. Like, you can make an argument. He's the best scoring wing prospect we have seen since Kevin Durant, but he has struggled a little bit against better teams this year, and his best games this year have come against Delaware, UC Riverside, California Baptist, Holy Cross, Abilene Christian, and Eastern Washington. We have Arizona, Kansas, Houston, Baylor, Iowa State coming up on BYU's schedule as well. These are going to be big tests for AJ Debanta if I want to have him any higher than number 3. Coming in at number 2, he was my number 2 guy going into the year. I have Cameron Boozer. Yeah, it is wild that AJ Debanta has done what he's done, and I can't bump him up anymore because Cameron Boozer has been unreal this year for Duke. I know he's not as athletic as AJ Debanta, not as aesthetically pleasing, but Boozer just is productive. He just wins. He won in high school. He's winning this year at Duke. He's averaging 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 58% from the field, 37% from three, 75% from the free throw line on 7.5 attempts a night, 1.8 steals. I do not love the perimeter defense when he's out there at 6'9", and maybe if he gets into better shape, just loses a little bit of weight, he'll be quicker on the perimeter, but he is such a skillful touch around the rim. I believe him as a three-point shooter at the NBA level as a stretch four. He's a great passer. He's a great playmaker out of the post. He could be an offensive hub for you. He can operate as a pick and roll ball handler. He can operate as the screen setter and can play out of the short roll as well. It's just so hard not to have him here in the top two. But coming into number one, you might not agree with me. I still have Darren Peterson. Now, Darren Peterson has played less games than Cameron Boozer and AJ Demancia this year because of the hamstring issues. Now, that's something that you don't want to test whatsoever. We've seen him cramp up. We've seen him leave games early. We've seen him miss a ton of games this year. He's shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three, 83% from the free throw line in those 9 games at the moment I'm recording this. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Now, if you watch these Kansas games and you watch the passes Darren Peterson makes, they are NBA level reads, but his teammates sometimes can't really finish. That's why Kansas has been a little bit underwhelming at times this year. But when Peterson plays, they could beat Iowa State, they could beat Baylor, they could beat TCU in a historic comeback. I would like to see the assist numbers go up a little bit, but I do think he could be a pure shooting guard at the NBA level at 6'5", 205 pounds. I haven't really seen enough to dock him from my number one spot, so I'm sticking with it. Peterson 1, Boozer 2, Demancia 3. Nothing has changed since my preseason there in the top 3. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Like always, let me know what you agree with, disagree with. Maybe there's a top 30 player, honorable mention that I didn't talk about. Let me know down below. Subscribe for more draft content. We'll be doing an updated mock draft after the trade deadline as well. I'll be updating this big board towards the end of the season after March Madness and leading up to the NBA draft. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.